Hello, everyone. We're here with Awakening Youniverse, episode number 6. Today, we're here with Andreas, and I met Andreas through the psychic mentorship that I took in January with Vanessa Vildegreen. If you guys follow her on TikTok, if not, I mention her a lot of times because I've been following her for a long time as a client and just recently a student. I got to meet so many other cool people on there and got to study with them. I decided to ask him if he wanted to come on because I haven't had a psychic medium on here so far, so I thought it'd be cool. We'll get right on into it. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you for having me on, Belen. Really grateful, and it was exciting to meet you in the program. I came onto that program as an existing psychic medium because I wanted to gain more confidence in my skill set, and it was incredible. I do this full time, and I'm in Australia, if you can't tell from the accent. I run my own business doing psychic development and psychic readings and human design and some fun retreats as well. Started about 15 years ago from this spiritual awakening, and I've just been very much in the rabbit hole my entire life, pretty much, that I can remember.
That is so funny. I feel like a lot of us that, have gifts or maybe are intuitive, we've always been pretty weird growing up. There's always been something about you. At least that's how the world made you feel like. But I thought we were actually the normal ones, okay?
I'm Greek Orthodox. I come from a Greek family, predominantly, half Greek, half Australian. I'm still, we are actually going to Greek church on Sundays. I'm not a practicing Greek Orthodox person, but my family still do this for rites of passage like births, deaths, marriages, and things like that. But I think that's because it's also very cultural, like it's a culturally tied religion. It's more than just the religion itself. It's part of our identity as a Greek person or part of the Greek diaspora. But I also went to a Catholic school as well, so a very Christian background. Greek Orthodox and Catholicism sort of come from the same root, you could say, but then they've branched off into different, but they come back to the same place.
What point in your life did you start to wander off from that, kind of start to believe something else?
I remember when I was a kid, because I went to a Catholic school, my mum was telling me how she wasn't religious, but she was spiritual. Like she believed in a creator or a God, but she perhaps didn't really believe in the dogmatic religions. I remember being so shocked by that. Like, what do you mean, Mom? Like, you don't believe? And as I got older, that's exactly what happened to me. I was about 15 when I started to find yoga. So that's really the basis of my more well-rounded spiritual life, is from yoga theory and yoga practice. Gay, overweight, teenager, very much not cool, not sporty. I was the academic nerd, so I was a very much the hotspot for all of the bullying and all of those things. I found yoga as a way to get in touch with my body, my soul, and start to solidify some of those fractured pieces of myself from all of that bullying. And that really stuck. And it wasn't so much the poses and stuff. It was more about the way that it expanded my mind and my spirit. That's what really got me fixed on yoga. I became a yoga teacher and all of the things.
I recently got into yoga, probably the last 6 months. It's amazing. I've never been the kind of person that does normal physical exercise. I won't go run, I won't go on a treadmill. When I found yoga, I was like, oh, maybe exercise can be for me. It's just different kind of exercise. It's amazing. I really do enjoy it. So I'm glad that you said that, because no one on the podcast yet has talked about the benefits of yoga. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? How did you learn it? Did you just kind of do it on your own at home, or?
I started on my own, and then I ended up going into studios and eventually studying to become a teacher. In Australia, we are in a Pilates era. I don't know about what is happening in the US and stuff, but everyone's obsessed with Pilates. 5 to 10 years ago, it was all about yoga. And I think that did a great job of bringing yoga to the West for maximizing the yoga in the culture. But as a yoga teacher, I feel that it's probably a good thing that we're in a Pilates era now, because yoga got a little bit gross, a little bit superficial, and the depth of the practice got lost with more of the gymnastics of it all. So I think that there's more of a deepening there that I hope is we're starting to connect to more now that it's not a fad.
Yes, I agree. People know it as okay, you can be flexible, you can do this little cool flowy poses, but it's really not about that. It's just about the emotional endurance that I feel now since I've started it. And I hope that people can eventually see it for what it really is.
What you were saying there, emotional endurance is a really cool phrase, by the way. I was like, ooh, I like that. It connects you back to yourself. And I was doing a little thing about explaining how I perceive the higher self versus spirit guides. And someone asked in the comments, where do you know this? And part of that is just you're open and your channel's open, you just know. We all know. But I was saying canonically or theologically, a lot of that is based on yoga theory. So a lot of the new age sort of, well, like a lot of that is actually rooted in yoga theory. Look at the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Then as the rabbit hole deepened, I started to have my own things going on, my own psychic channel opening, which to be fair was probably 10 years later, in my mid to late 20s. My mum was pretty cool with it, but my dad is pretty superstitious. Like, he's the Greek one. He was like, what is going on? Like, I'm afraid of this. This could be evil. So yeah, not super excited or enthusiastic about it. But by that point, I was going to do what I was going to do, right? Like, I was very much black sheep of the family. I was very much just, it's like, oh, Andreas is off doing his own thing, basically. Okay. They just came to accept that it was strange and it was not orthodox and it was just going to be what it was. I've been a practicing psychic for I'm just over 2 years now. It awoke as I got older. It wasn't like born with the gift. So as much as I had to get used to that and validate that and really believe in that, so did my family, just to actually validate and believe in that too, because it was such a shift in how they used to know me as like, oh, the guy with the degree and who's a town planner, and I had this whole other life. So it's been a big shift for them to go, wow, he's actually legit. And this isn't just another one of his like weird spiritual phases or something. Like, when I started doing the yoga and I started connecting to this Australian-based channeler, her name is Blossom Goodchild. If anyone knows of her, she's very much an OG channeler. She's been doing this for 20 years. I think with anyone, it's an unfolding process. You're aware of it, but you hold your normal life, and there's this interesting tension there. But as you go through life and as you get older and it sinks in more, and also the consciousness has risen as a collective as well, it's just easier to embody that more and more, rather than it feeling like this kind of, oh, I've got this inner world where I think this is a reality, but I play out the game as much as I do without bringing those two pieces together. Although I woke up 15 years ago, it took over a decade for that to start to solidify and embody and actually show up in the way that I live my life.
At some point you realize, wait, I actually want this. And spirit has to push you there slowly. It really can't happen overnight. It has to happen in the grounded 3D physical reality. You kind of shift out of what's not meant for you and into your alignment. But honestly, things are shifting every day. How you are thinking, how you are speaking, embodying that change, that matters just as much as taking the class and doing the thing. Sometimes, it feels like nothing is changing for you. Like your outside isn't aligning. Nothing's happening. We wait for this big boom to believe in spirit, but no, believe it every day. Believe in you and yourself and your steps, and the big boom will come, is kind of what I'm saying. It's a slow shift for sure. Sometimes you feel like you take 10 steps forward and 5 steps back, but that's okay. It's still a shift. It's still happening.
I'm glad you mentioned it, because I did a reading yesterday and this was one of the messages that came through for that person, is exactly that. She was very connected to dragon energy, actually. And that spirit guide energy was saying the only way that you can deviate from your soul mission to the degree where you completely go against it is if you chose to do that. You would have to consciously choose as a human to say, whatever I'm feeling inside me, I'm going to go in the opposite direction of that. So if you don't do that and you just follow along and see how it goes, you are going to be drawn towards your highest timeline, because that is the natural way. That's the natural law and mode of the universe. It would be a free will conscious choice to deviate from that inner knowing and that inner desire and pull to go off the rails. So we don't need to worry about oh, I'm so behind. That's just mental chaos.
Oh, absolutely. And that is so cool. Oh my goodness, that you channel dragon energy.
I feel like a lot of people are starting to go, oh, I can't just bury my head in the sand. There's clearly something going on here that isn't working for us, and that's probably got some agenda behind it. So I think that's almost becoming accepted now, as opposed to the big conspiracy. So I think with that, my brother and my whole family, in fact, are very much opening their mind up about things.
That's so cool. And honestly, it's okay if your family doesn't 100% believe in everything you do. As long as they're open, they accept you for who you are. That's amazing. That's really cool. My family's the same, for sure. Which I think is lucky. I mean, some people shun their daughters and sons for things like this. Some people have said like, no, my family shuns me, like I'm still the black sheep. So that's kind of just like heartbreaking. So I'm glad that your family is at least very open-minded and you can at least go to them and say like, hey, this happened, or like, I'm going through this. Was there anything specifically that you had a challenge with, like a really big hard lesson, or like something that you like, wow, this took years to learn?
I had a full-blown psychic awakening in 2022. That was when my psychic channel opened. It was very much like a Kundalini awakening, if anyone knows that one. That's when it all turned on. And there was nearly 15 years of spiritual work preceding that. So it wasn't like it just poofed out of nowhere. There was a lot of context and background for that. But it certainly did open and awaken. And then I started to integrate that. One of the biggest challenges I faced with that was my fear of the dark, was my fear of demons or entities or things, because my psychic channel awakened and I started to be like, what's around me? That was a really big, scary one for me. And I had to go through a very deep process of recognizing my own dark, my own light, and working with polarity and the shadow and the light to understand that, well, we come from the same thing. We really do. So when I teach my mentees who are going through this and opening their psychic channel up to work with this fear that a lot of us carry, I teach them that you can't be afraid of something you are. And we are equally the dark that we perceive in an entity. We are that same source. We come from the same code. It's just a different expression of that. That's all it is. That's an expression that's more coded in that dark polarity, and we're coded in more of a neutral or perhaps a light polarity, depending on the person. So that has really helped. I do entity removal and, I do all of that stuff.
A lot of people are in such fear of these things. So I'm glad that you brought that up. It is something that even I, recently feared before taking the class. I knew I had these abilities, as many people probably watching kind of experience too. But as soon as anything out of the ordinary happens, they kind of like shell back in and they're like, nope, don't want it anymore. They don't want to open anything. I think maybe it's just coming from like past experiences for me. So, after that, I created a block. Probably like many of you watching have created a block within you. I think also we have a collective block and then your own personal like fear-based block. When I realized that we all could do this, I realized how easily I was always doing this, how easily I could do it after taking the class. I was like, there is no way. That's insane. And I'm always practicing too. Like, just ask my guide, what do you think of this? What do you think about my shirt? I ask about like the dumbest things, and it's the coolest thing.
That is actually the coolest thing, to be able to just strengthen your connection with those everyday questions. I love that.
Thanks for giving us that little advice, because I needed that myself. Till this day, I'm practicing the best protection methods that work for me, that make me feel safe. So then I know 100%, nothing can penetrate this. I am okay. Like I have to constantly tell myself that and believe in my own protection. It is a lot about that.
When I had that psychic awakening, the guides that came through to support me were very much along that dragon energy. So that archetype, or that spirit guide archetype, is they don't muck around. Like they'll push you into the fire to support your growth, essentially. Part of that experience was certainly like facing those fears. And there was a combination of just me sitting in meditation and working through my own fear and doing that shadow work. But then I was also working with my own spirit guides. I also work with Jesus a lot. I don't want to say that in a preachy way, which is like, oh, come in and Jesus will save you from the demons. Like I don't want to give it that religious undertone. But what I'm trying to say is that if you bring in the energy of Jesus and work with that energy, it helps you to understand the nature of light and dark so that you aren't so afraid of it. And that's what really worked for me. And I did want to say a couple pieces on this fear, because it is such a big one that I see come up again and again and again. We cannot underestimate the way that media and film has influenced our psychology around this topic. It's really, really a key factor in how people have been conditioned to relate to these like entities. I mean, horror films, no, they're pointing you in a direction of fear. And what those films very rarely go to a point of like, oh, well, my light is so strong. My light and my source, your light is the protection. I'm not saying don't protect yourself. Like everyone should do their things like you do. I do that too, to protect myself and feel protected. But the way I've been taught and seen is it's like our light is the protection. And these entities, they can't handle it. The light, it literally makes them go like, whoa, like I can't look at my own light. I'd have to become that light. And they don't want to do that.
They'd rather go somewhere else. And it's funny that you said the media really conditions us. It does. It makes you believe that your own light is not enough, that it would never work. I'm like, yeah, that's
Yes.
wrong. Like I loved horror
Same.
movies growing up. It was, yeah, I had to really reprogram my mind on that. It was crazy.
Big time. Isn't that what we do? Like teenagers go through the horror movie phase, like we freak ourselves out. I don't know. It just seems to be a ritual.
Kind of don't really watch them anymore. And when I do, I just kind of like laugh at them because they're so silly. They're really
Yes,
silly
I think it's a good
sometimes.
attitude to have and not internalize
Yeah.
it too. I never expected the psychic stuff to be part of my experience, to be honest. That was always like,
Mm.
oh, that's what they do. I do my embodiment thing and my yoga thing, and they do their thing. But the psychic thing just
Oh.
happened, and that just changed everything. And it's been an added layer onto what was otherwise a spiritual facilitation pathway that I was going down.
You're more lucid in your sleep now, or you astral project, or you just kind of start knowing things. It is really weird. It's you feel kind of crazy, and you need a lot of grounding.
If no one knows Qigong, it's basically like Tai Chi, but even more slow. Spirit was telling me for years to do Qigong, and I was like, I'm already doing yoga. Like, I got enough, girl. But eventually I started practicing it, and I just find it's a really great way to ground your energy. So when people are like, I'm doing this and it's not working, or I'm trying to like stand on the earth and it's not grounding me, I'm like, girl, go do some qigong, because that's going to do it for you. Qigung. If you think yoga move but like completely pared down in terms of how much movement you do, qi is
Mm.
energy. So qigong is like the martial art of working with energy, essentially. I don't think it's an actual martial art, but it's one of those focuses. It's incredible. You basically just work a lot with energy and moving energy down your body, and it can be really helpful for, I would say it's a form of energy movement practice, like yoga is, but yoga is way more intense, I would
Like,
say. Qigong is super pared back. Anyone can do Qigong. Like if you were in a wheelchair, you can do Qigong.
since we're still on the psychic topic, do you mind sharing a story of really just anything? Could be with your guides, or a story that as you were developing your gifts, you realized like, oh no, this is real. I'm not crazy. I really am psychic. Like everyone's psychic. Like,
The I'm crazy thing is such a big thing we all go through. And to be honest, I think that you have to go through that, because if you were crazy, you probably wouldn't be having that question come up. You'd be like, wow, like you'd just be fully in it. The very act of asking, am I crazy? Like, I think that's a sign that you are really not. Because your rational brain is working, which it should. It should be questioning all of
exactly.
this and going, wait. And our rational brain likes evidence. That's how we believe things. That's how we validate things. So when I had my psychic awakening, I tell this story a lot because it was just one thing I can't explain it. It was actually quite an intense experience. And my partner, I was with my ex at the time, and he was there. But then at some point, he was like, are you having a psychotic break? Like, he genuinely was unsure if I was having some sort of psychosis or something. He was like, I'm going to call the cops and we're going to put this to bed, basically. And in that moment, I was actually in a full blown channel, which I could not control, by the way, at that
Okay,
time. And I
I
said to
can see
him,
how that was like. Yeah. Oh God.
I didn't have any control of it either. This was the first time it happened, and it was spontaneous. I told him, well, the channel told him that they were going to block the call to 911 or 000 here in Australia. And he tried to call them twice and he could not get through to 911 in the middle of Brisbane City, which is like a big Australian city. And then he was like, I'm going to call my mom. And I was like, no worries, you can call your mom. We'll allow it. And he got through. So his
Oh
phone
my
was
God. Are you
working.
kidding?
He had the reception, the coverage, the cell coverage, but they were like, we're going to block that call. They said it to him that we're going to block the call to 911. And he was like, whatever. And they literally did. And I can't fathom that.
That's insane. Oh my goodness. I'm so invested now. So he just called his mom and he was like, hey, this,
Because he couldn't
he's
get
freaking
through,
me
because he couldn't get through to 911, which in Australia that's 000. Because he couldn't get through to that twice, and I told him I was going to block the call, he was like worried, and he was like, I have to call someone. I'm going to call my mum to try and see if she can help this situation, because he thought I was having a psychosis.
when spirit shows you proof in the physical, it can be scary. It can be very
Yes,
scary.
you're like, wow, this is like
Yeah.
more than just an idea. This is real.
Like, never mind. Yeah, yeah, like it's like at first it's all in your head. Yeah, I got it. Like I was just playing around. It's terrifying, man. It
It's a
is.
lot, yeah. But it was also so validating as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is tangible, this is unexplainable phenomenon, this is more than just me saying something can hoping it like sounds correct or something.
Or waiting to see if it comes true. Like this is right here, right
Yes,
now. I agree.
exactly.
I love moments like that. They can be scary though. You already mentioned it. That when you were growing up, sometimes you're bullied or ostracized or outcasted. Like same. I think that's a very valid experience for, I don't even know what to call it. Just people that know they're here for something different, to not follow people. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like people can smell us from a freaking mile away or something.
Yeah, that
Because
old soul energy. I think people, I don't know, I think kids especially, they don't love it or they find there's something threatening about it maybe or just something to pick on. So
yeah.
yeah, I feel like there's a bit of an old soul energy in that.
No, I that's a good like way to put it. I like old soul energy. I always just kind of said weird kid energy, but like no, that's true, old soul, because it's I don't know about you, but at least the kids that like kind of are more quiet, they sit down, they kind of look around and they can read the room because they're that smart. They can read the energy of the teacher and the other students and just everything. It was so exhausting, and I always wondered, like, you guys have time to play? Like, I can't play. I'm thinking about all these things right now. Like, I didn't just go out and play with a stick. Like, at first I would look at the stick and say, does this stick want me to play with it? Like, it's the weirdest thing. I don't know how
Well,
to
I think
explain
that's what makes old soul energy what it is because
it.
and that's the point because new soul energy is like, oh my God, look at all the toys. The old souls are like, I've played with the toys a million lifetimes. Now I'm going to sit back and observe everyone else do that and gain more information from that.
I was such an observer. Like now, I think it helps me now because now I found my inner like child. So now it balances out. Like I observe, but I'm also like, okay, let's play. Like let's go out and
Yeah, it's
play.
universal, isn't it, for old souls? You almost have to relearn to have fun.
Yes, I'm glad we said it. When you're observing, it's great and all, and you get in so much information, right? And you feel like you know all, and you're learning about all these people, but then you're not experiencing much, or who's observing you? You deserve to be observed. So, for your spiritual awakening, are there any outdated beliefs that you had to let go of to really step into your true self, highest self?
Yeah, we touched on this before, but I'll say it again quickly here. I had to let go that there was an us and a them, as in like a light and a dark that was somehow evil and therefore not of source, not of light. I had to let go of this fight mentality that it was like, I'm in a battle and I have to battle this energy or this dark force. I had to really release that. And that really helped me completely feel more protected and be able to open my psychic channel far more because I wasn't too afraid then. If you are genuinely spiritual, I just don't think you can deny that. Well, we come from something and these other things come from something else. It's like, where is their origin point if not from the same source as us? And therefore, we have to embrace the totality of it all. The other thing that I had to let go of was a bit of a victim mindset too, because it was like full accountability for the universe. As a creator being, we create this crazy game to come into, and with all of its enthralling challenges and enemies and all of this, because it makes it exciting and interesting to play out or live out. I really had to go like, oh, I'm not the victim of my reality. I'm a co-creator in it. And I don't just mean like in my little life. I mean on a global level as well, to take away that victim mindset. And it's hard, because our mind is so biased and it wants to constantly go back to like thinking in a negative way. So it's a consistent balance and realignment. I think it's something that's always on as a human, like you kind of always keeping your mind in check.
You really do have to kind of like reparent yourself and say, hey, no, life doesn't hate you, this didn't happen to you, it's not because you suck. If you were to give a one statement about this is who Andreas is, like what do you think that would be?
That's edgy, and I think I do feel that the truth of what that is for me. What I've discovered, my purpose is really to embody my truth, my authenticity, especially when it comes to the spirituality stuff and the gay stuff. Sure, we'll throw that in as well. But in doing so, I seem to give other people the permission to do the same, or maybe the inspiration to do the same. And it doesn't really matter what the modality is or what the service is that I'm providing, whether it's a psychic reading or a healing or whatever. Often people come to me and the magic from the session is that I unlock their self-permission to start to be like, no, I am legitimate. I am worthy. This is happening. This is real. I can trust this and I should proceed forward in the way I want to, and not self-doubt and gaslight yourself out of living your own soul mission.
And I definitely do get that from you. Like I definitely don't get like, that I have to act a certain way around you or look professional or whatever. I 100% felt that. Like you're very funny, you're chill. So absolutely. Were there any individuals that helped you on your journey? Any mentors, friends and family, even pets, things like that?
I've had quite a few different teachers over the years, whether it be one of my first yoga teachers. Vanessa has been one of my teachers who we mentioned at the beginning. And a lot of my teachers have been like spirit. Spirit is a big teacher for me, Jesus or archangels. And they've been a massive teacher for me. Some people have one teacher or one guru, so to speak, or a couple of those, and they follow those devoutly for a lifetime. But I found for me, it's like someone comes into the path and then someone else then comes into the path for the next chapter. Spreading the love, and multiple people hold different codes and keys. We're meant to each collectively hold different keys for each other to support each other grow.
You're not alone, and you really can't do it alone. As much as you are alone, you're learning lessons alone, but you have people there that will guide you and still give you wisdom. I'm sure these people, whether they were your guides or, Vanessa or your yoga teacher, they all somehow like planted a seed in you that you are now planting a seed in me or anyone else who you're speaking to. Or, we don't realize how this chat is impacting people. And I love that. I love that spirit doesn't let you fully know what's happening behind the scenes. You just have to guess. You just have to believe. When you get the occasional feeling of doubt, what do you do when that happens? Because even now, you're very along in your journey, but doubt is still very human. So what do you do when that happens as opposed to before?
Yeah, yes, imposter syndrome. Hello. Like, I feel like I'm the poster child for that. It's been a real thing, and it doesn't go away in that we are constantly up leveling and we're constantly growing. So you'll get to one milestone and then you're like, okay, let's take it to the next level. One thing I'm working on now in my own psychic work is doing communication with people who have passed. Give me a spirit guide any day, but when it comes to talking to like dead auntie, I'm like, ooh, like I'm still working on that skill set. And so that can come with a lot of doubt and imposter syndrome, especially because traditional mediumship has gone the other way, and they start by talking to dead people and then they move on to maybe other things if they do that. So that's been really interesting. And the way I see it is when you get faced with something like that, the self-doubt piece, you've got two avenues. The first avenue is you just keep going down the self-doubt spiral and looking for reasons why you aren't good enough. Or the second one is you utilize that feeling as simply an indicator that you want to grow and get better at something. So therefore, it's more of it's like an arrow pointing you in the direction of where do I need to go? What skills do I need to develop? How do I gain more confidence in this through just practice, more self-belief, probably training? I think that does the job of giving your body and your mind the proof, essentially, that you can let go of that old belief that you're not good enough. Otherwise, I think you're just playing the shadow work game forever. And you're going, oh no, I'm good enough. And you're trying and trying and trying. But unless you're actually doing something, this may be controversial, but I believe that if you're not actually doing something to help you feel stronger and better in something, you're actually only going halfway. If you're only doing the shadow work, but you're not doing any skill development, for example, you're probably only doing half the story, and it's harder.
I do agree. It's because at the end of the day, we're like physical beings. So we do need to put some physicality to honestly anything we do because it helps your logical mind. You can go back to your logical mind, your ego anyway. You have to go to these aspects of you and kind of prove to them, I am worthy. I took the classes. I paid. I'm doing the shadow work. You sometimes need to prove to your own self you are worth it by doing things, getting up, because that's kind of stuff your ego will never shun away. It will never deny because it physically did happen. Anything that you physically do, your ego cannot deny at all. If you could ask spirit and know the 100% truth to one question, whether that be about your life or anything else, what would you ask?
Oh my God, I'd be like, when are we finding our fifth dimension, new earth, fully embodied? Like, take me there, give me the exact date and time coordinates because I want to be there.
Same. I'm a soul that I came here for the awakening. Like, that's the only reason I'm here. I know that because I love this. I love doing this. I love talking to people like you, like me. I love doing the work. Like, it's bring it on. You know what I mean? Like, I love life. So yeah, same. I would want to know, when is this happening? When can I pack my suitcase? I'm just kidding. There will be no packing, guys. It's not going to work like that. I'm just kind of like following like the new age belief. Thank you guys for joining Awakening Youniverse.
Yeah, I'm just thankful that you had me on today, Belen. And I'm at Andreas Embodiment on like pretty much all of the socials. So Andreas Embodiment is my website if anyone wants to contact me. I've got a bunch of free psychic protection guides, a light language program, which is all free. So if anyone's interested in that, they can check me out.
Thank you guys again for watching. Hope you guys got to learn a little bit more about, how to develop your skills and abilities and what that means for you, what it might look like. I see you guys next time and hope you guys have a great week. Bye.